Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting episode on Chasing Hope with me, your host, Catherine Abraham. Our guest today is a gentleman whose family's legacy is in many ways synonymous to India's legacy. The great-grandson of the Mahatma himself, he is one of the few voices in India today who determinedly speaks for democratic principles and its preservation. It gives me great pleasure in welcoming an engaging conversationalist, humble and yet forthright, Mr. Tushar Gandhi. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Chasing Hope.
Good morning, Catherine, and a very good morning and good wishes to all your listeners on Raising Hope. It gives me great pleasure to be able to speak with all of you and share my thoughts here.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, so without further ado, my first question to you is, Mahatma Gandhi himself once wrote, Hindus, if they want unity among different races, must have the courage to trust the minorities. Do you believe that India today faces a trust deficit in this department?
Yes, I think not only India today, but humanity in general
Yes, sir.
is facing a trust deficit. It feels as if it's a universal phenomenon that is gripping all of humankind, and that's where you see more and more very aggressive responses. I believe that although the pandemic of the virus
Yes,
is
sir.
intimidating us at the present moment, the greater pandemic that we are suffering from is the pandemic of hate.
Right, sir.
And hate is born out of the beginning of distrust.
Right.
Once you start distrusting people, very soon it is replaced by hate, and then that can be exploited, and that is what we are all suffering from today. And that is where, even if it is a very faint voice, as Bapu said, I call Gandhi as Bapu.
Yes,
I
sir.
refuse to call him a Mahatma, but
Yes, sir.
said that it is the faint and yet as yet very insignificant voice that eventually brings about and makes a difference. And so I think I have great faith in that faint and isolated voice if it is telling the truth.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, but that brings me to my second question, in fact, which just highlights what you just said not too long ago, that the South Asia State of Minorities Report 2020, they termed India as a dangerous place for religious minorities, stating that India has become increasingly intolerant in the last few years. So do you believe that the central government in India can do a far better job at strongly supporting the secular fabric? And what do you think that they should really be looking at?
Catherine, the present government and the ruling combination has
Yes.
never subscribed to the ideal of secularism.
Right,
They
sir.
have always believed in the dominance of the upper caste among the Hindu. I must also make that difference, that they do not think of Hindus as a homogeneous people. They
Right.
believe in the caste hierarchies, and that's why you see that even the so-called lower castes and untouchables today find themselves isolated, and although in numbers they are much the majority in India, are
Absolutely, sir.
treated as minorities by the ruling classes, and that is why we should not be realistically expecting much from the present day government to work to strengthen secularism or inclusivity, because they have always subscribed to exclusivity and divisiveness.
Right, sir. So, but isn't it disturbing, because obviously what they are proving to the world is that political Hindutva is obviously more important for them than the ecumenical principles of Hinduism, which has always been to actually embrace people from different classes, castes, and irrespective of their religion. So, does this keep you disturbed?
It does. It does disturb because the popular acceptance of this exclusive ideology and the ideology of excluding people is
Yes, sir.
something that is very disturbing and alarming.
Right, sir.
But people like me do not have the luxury of becoming pessimists. Our ideology itself instills the ideal of hope and optimism, and so I don't believe that I will ever give up, no matter how isolated I may become. And thankfully, there are a lot of such voices that are raised in defiance of the very loud and oppressive voice of India that we are hearing today in the public domain.
Yes, so that's quite true. So, but then this brings me to the actual fact that yes, absolutely, I completely agree that there are some voices that are still talking about democratic principles and secularism. But what is disturbing is that post 2019, when there was a survey conducted, it was recorded that Indian youth was strongly inclined to believe in the fundamentalist principles of the BJP. Now, your great grandfather built and nurtured the Indian National Congress, which still stands today as the most secular party, alongside stalwarts like Pandit Nehru and Sardar Patel, apart from, of course, other luminaries. So, the thing is that do you also think that this grand old party has somewhere lost on the narrative, and there are some things that really need to fundamentally change now so that we reclaim these secular principles?
Catherine, let me put it very frankly to you that the world over,
Yes, sir.
all the grand old parties have abandoned the ideologies on which they were formed and are now subservient to the electoral ideology only.
Right.
And so they sail with the winds. The direction the wind blows, they go that way. They've lost the ability to go against the flow, which actually initially was the inception of their, or was the ideology of their inception.
Right.
And so it is the same with the Congress. The Congress was secular till Nehru.
Right.
After that, it became opportunist secular under Indira Gandhi, and so the genuineness and honesty of being secular was lost, and that is where it was very easy for the fanatic parties to demean the ideal of secularism itself. And
Right,
the
sir.
first thing that they have done in in their campaign is to tarnish the ideal of secularism, and that's where you see amongst the young people, they were initially indoctrinated to suspect and disbelieve the ideal of secularism itself.
Right.
Today, they don't understand and they don't want to understand the ideal of secularism.
Absolutely, sir.
And that is where it becomes very easy for the Sanghis who are in power today to foist their brand of intolerance onto the youth as being patriotic. Today, the danger is that intolerance is being equated with patriotism.
Right.
And you see, what we saw yesterday in Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
is just this morning I made a comment on social media saying that look how dangerous and destructive even 4 years
Right.
of rule can become to a once great country.
Absolutely.
And so this is what we must, you see, eventually humanity and the liberal space has always triumphed.
Right.
The danger is not from the aberration of the rule of the fanatic.
Right.
The danger and the lasting effect of that aberration The
Yes, sir.
damage it does when it is in power
Right.
is what is dangerous and what lasts. And that is what we should all be concerned about.
Right.
I don't have much hope in the Congress, because today the Congress is a slave to electoral politics. They don't have an ideology. They may claim to have an ideology and be the inheritors of an ideology, but
Right.
what they subscribe to today is opportunism.
So, but then that becomes even more difficult because, say, for example, I am a Christian. For an example here, I am a Christian. I also belong to a religious minority. Now, there are very many like us who look up to this particular party and say that, all right, at least there's one party left in the country that preaches and teaches about secular principles and at least respecting all the religious minorities. So if they are not an answer, then who do you think is an answer to our problem?
You see, Catherine, yes, I agree that at the present moment, the Congress seems to be the only party that one can look up to with hope.
Right, sir.
But their record shows that they have not lived up to that. When Christians were under attack by the same religious fundamentalists that are attacking now the Muslims in
Yes,
India,
sir.
the Congress stood by being a mute spectator, although at that time they were ruling in India. And they were a much stronger opposition also when they were not ruling. And so the Congress has really not lived up. And today, where you see that even your age group amongst the minorities
Yes, sir.
distrust the Congress,
Right.
and in their distrust are forced to go towards the fanatic element.
Right. So,
Subscribing to the ideal that the a known devil is better than an unknown one.
true. True. So, sir, if you were given a chance to change something fundamentally, so that at least the principles that this Congress party stands for, in terms of at least protecting those who are marginalized and who don't really have a voice today, what would be your one piece of advice to them?
Live your belief. Unless
Right.
we live what we believe in, unless it is reflected in every habit and practice of ours,
Right.
unless it leads by example,
Right.
it can never ever. You see, you must give this to the fanatics,
Mm-hmm.
that they live their fanaticism. They don't hide it.
Right.
They don't have a mask of liberalism to hide behind. Their gory face, their frightening face, is there for everybody to see, and that is how they have got acceptance today.
Right.
So, in case we have to have a more gentle and more humane public organization, then they have to live by that ideal. They have to lead by that example.
Right, sir.
That was the charm of Gandhi,
Absolutely. Yes. He respected one and all.
and he lived by what he believed in. He lived by. People were inspired more by his practices than by his speeches.
Yes. Right.
And I must tell you, I sound like I'm opposed to the Congress, but like you, I also believe that they are the only hopes we have. The only thing is that I want them to understand it, because I believe that an addict can only go on into cure once they admit their addiction.
Absolutely. That's very true. And that's a brilliant analogy. Yes. That's very, very, very true, sir. So, which brings me to, I'm just going to take a slight detour. But do you believe that schools and colleges in India could do a better job in eliminating differences, especially given this fundamentalism and communalism in the country? So, do you think they could do a better job about it?
It has to start from the families, homes itself, Catherine. And
Right, sir.
I think the time has come when religion must be removed from the public life completely,
Right.
from official life completely. It should become a private affair
Right.
of a citizen.
Right,
There
sir.
should not be any public necessity for religion or caste in official
Documents.
functioning of the
Yes.
government. I think unless we take that drastic step of making religion a private affair,
Right, sir.
we will never be able to cure this malaise of hate and intolerance and disrespect for everybody who is different, not only in religion but in life practices and life choices.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So my last two questions, since this podcast is all about hope and positivity, my question to you is, what is your definition of hope and what are your hopes for India 2024?
Well, my definition of hope is that it is that tiny spark in an absolutely dark abyss that gives you the assurance that while it lasts, it has brought you some hope of emerging into the light. And so I cling to that. I don't wait for a searchlight to be shone on me. And if I was qualified to give a message to India and the young India, my message would be never give up hope. And remember that hope springs from our own actions. It's not somebody else who's going to grant us that boon of hope or change. We will have to strive ourselves individually and hope that our individual change and actions will culminate into a collective movement of improvement and change.
That is such a beautiful definition of hope, sir. And so, what are your hopes for India 2024 in particular?
There was a very famous and popular song in my youth. I don't know if it was famous, but I used to love it a lot. I don't even remember who sang it, but
Right,
it
sir.
was my favorite. It said, "Going back to my roots."
Mm-hmm.
I think India needs to go back to its roots of liberalism and moderation and inclusivity. Unless we do that, there is no hope, because the tree that we
Right.
so gloriously attribute as India as being is rotten to its core. It's been eaten up completely.
Right.
But there is still hope that the roots will be able to push out a healthier tree for the future.
Wow. So that's amazing. And so my last question to you is, what are the three principles, life principles of Mahatma Gandhi that still continue to inspire you and your life?
I think the basic principles of Bapu, honesty, truth, inclusivity, and love and compassion,
Right.
are something that are timeless. And even Bapu admitted that they were not something that he had discovered. He had just utilized what were in the foundation of civilization itself. And so I believe that even today, for us individuals too, those are the ideals that we must cherish and imbibe.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, sir. It was so enlightening just talking to you. Your thoughts are absolutely deeply valued and cherished, especially those who are listening to this episode of Chasing Hope. I'm very, very sure they're going to be leaving this episode quite inspired. Thank you so much for your time. I know you have a busy schedule, but thank you for taking time out for us.
Just in conclusion, Catherine, I
Yes,
want
sir.
to say that hope is never destroyed.
Yes, sir.
Hope is
Thank you.
always
Yes.
there. It's just our ability to grasp
Right.
at it, and our sort of discarding of that hope, believing that we can't do anything, that makes it strong or weak.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. I completely agree.
Thank you, Catherine, and my best wishes to your listeners. And
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And friends, I hope you have learnt a lot from this exciting conversation. In fact, it was engaging and enlightening. And our special thanks to Mr. Tushar Gandhi for taking out the time for us. please don't forget to tell us how you liked our interview. Feel free to send in your requests and suggestions. And you can now log on to chasinghopewithcatherine.com for all our past episodes on history, Christianity, and more. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to meeting you in the next episode.